Yo, what is up guys, it's Pedro here. In today's video, I want to talk about a player that the Washington Commanders could trade according to a Commanders insider who predicted the Brian Robinson trade before anyone else. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button and that notification bell as well. Also hype the video, it helps out a ton. And comment down below who you want the Commanders to trade and who you want the Commanders to trade for. If you think they should be buyers or sellers, it's still a couple weeks away from the deadline. But let's talk about this. So Brandon Coleman, who the Commanders drafted in the third round of the 2024 draft, has been inactive for 4 straight games, which is just, to me, absolutely crazy. The fact that he was our starter, or the fact that last year he was a starting left tackle for basically the whole season, I thought played pretty well. Yes, there was some times where it wasn't the best, but for a third round rookie who was a little bit of a tweener in terms of whether he's going to play tackle or guard, I thought he played pretty well. And then, the off season, they kind of are like, we're going to switch him. They didn't really know, I believe. And then, they traded for Laremy Tunsil. And they said, all right, we're going to switch Brandon Coleman to guard. That's kind of what it was. They didn't really know at first whether they wanted him at tackle or guard. They probably had a preference. They wanted to make an upgrade at tackle, but they decided to just wait and see, to see what they're going to do, whether it's a trade or a free agency acquisition or draft. And they ended up making 2 moves, drafting Josh Connerly, which was the second move, and trading for Laremy Tunsil, which they gave up a decent amount of draft capital. And then after that, they're like, all right, we're going to move Brandon Coleman inside. And, the whole offseason, pretty good reports from him. He was injured for a while, but the expectations, at least for me, but I believe most fans and media thought Brandon Coleman was going to be a stud, probably going to be a Pro Bowl guard for the Commanders. Maybe not this year, but in the next couple years. And maybe that's still possible, but, he struggled, I guess, to start the season. I didn't think it was awful. It wasn't great, but I didn't think it was awful. But the fact that it was, that awful, where not only is he benched, he is inactive, which, again, to me is crazy. There's no way it was that bad to where he's, worse than all these players. And they didn't just make that move. They also, benched Nick Allegretti. That also kind of helped things as well, putting Andrew Wiley in there. And, I think helped out this offensive line for sure. But Brandon Coleman, he is a player. Ben Standig says that he thinks, and in this article he kind of talks about it, they could potentially trade Brandon Coleman. He's not saying it's going to happen. He's not saying, it's a report or anything, but he's throwing a shot. He did that with Brian Robinson, and that worked out really well. He said that before anyone. He said he could see a release or a trade. And guess what? That's the scenario the Commanders were in. They trying to trade him. At some point, it was like, all right, they might release him, and they ended up trading him. So, Ben Stanek, I definitely trust him on this one. You see someone in the comments says, Ben, last time you threw something like this out, it happened. What do you know? He says, that one I call my shot. This one I'm pondering out loud. So he's not necessarily saying that it's going to happen, but he thinks it's a possibility at least, that the Commanders trade Brandon Coleman. He's a third-round pick from the year before who, can at least be an okay tackle in this league. And for me, it's still, very perplexing that he's been inactive 4 games in a row. Has there been something behind the scenes? I don't think so. It seems like Brandon Coleman's a super, quiet guy and, just, not a guy that's going to cause a lot of locker room issues. And this probably wouldn't, even if it was an issue, it's probably not a locker room issue, but it's more of like an attitude issue. Maybe not listening to coaching and stuff like that. But it doesn't seem like Brandon Coleman's that type of guy. But obviously assumptions, you shouldn't always assume. So there might be something behind the scenes there with Brandon Coleman that's causing this to happen. But for me, it's very perplexing that we've gotten to this point where he's not a starter, but he's not even a backup. He's inactive. Like, inactive is usually, reserved for the guys that are late round rookies from, obviously this year, or just, vets in general that, are practice squad type of guys, not guys that you drafted in the third round the year before that, started all the games the year before and played decent and that you had really high expectations for him. So something else is going on in this situation. Maybe like, maybe they're trying, they're keeping him out for these 4 games, and they don't want him to get hurt because he has been a little bit injury prone since he got in here, and so that they can potentially get a trade off with him. I don't know what the value would be. If you can get something for him, go ahead and do it. I personally like Coleman. I had really high hopes for him this year. I don't think a trade is needed, but if you can get something good for him, like a 5th round pick or something like that, or better, then I think you think about it. Or if you can get a player back, we're going to talk about some players that are on the trade market in a little bit that the Commanders could pursue, that maybe you can include Brandon Coleman in that, because he's a young offensive lineman. I would just say hold off on trading Brandon Coleman. The guy is an offensive lineman. He's young. And you see what happened with Chris Paul. Like, he really never was given a full chance. Like, he was always like a backup or a 3rd string guy, inactive like Coleman's been. And, sometimes end of the season, like I remember it might have been his rookie year or his 2nd year, where the last game of the season against the Cowboys, he got an opportunity. I thought he played well there, but never an opportunity for more than a game or so. And this year he's been getting that opportunity, and he's been playing at a pretty high level. So that's, a guy that was a 7th round pick 4 years. Like, this is his 4th year. So if that happened with him, I'm not saying it's going to happen with all these guys, but with Coleman especially, a guy that is, a 3rd round pick, has a lot of tools and played well, I think you got to be a little bit more patient before giving up. And I think the Commanders should be as well. I don't think he should be inactive. I've said that 100 times today in this video, but I'm going to keep saying I think having him inactive is a little bit ridiculous. But real quick, a word from today's sponsor. And a huge shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring today's video. So Sleeper has a bunch of deals going on right now. The biggest one, you get a $20 free entry without a deposit. You guys can do that. Also, the one that's been going on for a while now, if you use my promo code Pedro on Sleeper, you get a 100% match up to $100. So if you put in 20, you'll get $40 total, and you can use that to win real money using picks. My picks yesterday for the game did not hit, but overall we've been on a really good winning, I guess not streak anymore, but we've been doing a really good job making picks for each week. So make sure you guys check out Sleeper. Use that link in the description below. Let me know what picks you guys have for this week. There's a Thursday night game, and then obviously Sunday the Commanders have a big game against the Dallas Cowboys. They have to. All right, and again, huge shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring today's video. Let's get into some moves, and then also some guys that they are looking, or not that they're looking for, but that they could look for in a trade. And this video is pre-recorded, so this video is being recorded on the 15th. We'll post it sometime tomorrow on the 16th, so today for you guys. Drake Jackson, they signed him, that's official. Noah Brown and IR, I don't even want to talk about that. I mean, the guy has just been on the injury report basically the whole time he's been here. Hail Mary is cool, and some other plays he's made have been cool, but like, I'm off it. Like, at this point, like, anything he adds to the team is a benefit. I think they said no surgery. Again, I was gonna say I don't care in terms of like the football side of it. Obviously, personal side, hopefully everything's good with him. But the football side, I'm not expecting anything from Noah Brown. So, for me, it's like he's off the team for the rest of the year. And, next year too, he needs to be off the team, because I rather get nothing than a guy that's off and on. Because not only, my original point was just going to be like, when you're expecting to have something and you don't have it, that's not good. And then also just chemistry-wise, you have a guy in, out, in, out, in, out. Just, it's not the move. And that was one of the moves they made today. And then Julian Good-Jones to the practice squad. Doesn't matter too much, but hey, you never know. So those are the moves they made. And funny enough, Drake Jackson's already like not practicing. So they signed him, but maybe they're going to put him on IR. Maybe this is kind of a stasher situation for the Commanders. All right, let's talk about some guys that they could potentially trade for, or at least on the market. And of course, one of the trending tweets right here is Jacoby Myers right on the side of the screen, so I was able to pull that up. But Rookie Scoops, has a really good track record, and predicted the Terry stuff, predicted the Micah Parsons, a bunch of other stuff. He said Jacoby Myers is going to be on the market, so or on the trade market, is probably going to get traded. So he wasn't at practice today. Who knows if it's an injury or not? But that's someone that is on the trade block. I'm not too interested. For me, and I don't know exactly who's available in free agency. It's not going to be great names, but I'm at this point in the season, I'm not giving up a 5th round, 4th round pick for a guy that's just going to be here for one more year and then you got to pay. For me, we already gave up enough picks. Like, I'm fine with rolling with Debo, Terry, who should be back this week. I'm saying should because who knows. And then, Luke McCaffrey, who's pop, man. He's on pace for like over 500 yards, and that's not insane, but it's good considering what we thought, just a month and a half ago before the season started. And then who else? Jalen Lane has shown some flashes as well. So for me, I'm not saying our receiver position's fine, but I don't think we need to go out and be aggressive in the trade market for someone like Jacoby Myers. If Jalen Waddle was available, that's another story. Jalen Waddle's a stud. He's young and would be a legit guy that you can pair with Terry. That's a similar level. I think Terry's better, but also Jalen's way younger, so you can have him for the future too. Chris Olave, he's been on the trade block or trade rumors. I'm not going to say block. I think Myers probably is, but there's been discussions about Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle, Jerry Jeudy, like I said. And then, like I said earlier, Jalen Phillips is a guy that's going to, has been in trade talks as well, according to reports. So Jalen Phillips would be an option at edge rusher that I would not be upset about. The only thing with him is his injury history is insane. There's just a lot. I mean, he medically retired. Where was it? I believe he was at UCLA, then went to Miami. I'm pretty sure that was the case with him. But yeah, he had to medically retire, came back. I think he even tore his ACL in the NFL. So he has a lot of injuries, and he would be cool. He's got talent, but I don't know. Bradley Chubb's another guy. He's older though, so I know Commanders fans and me as well. I don't know if that's the right move as well, but those are some of the guys. The next couple weeks are going to be interesting. No trades so far this week, but Adam Schefter was saying like each week on Monday and Tuesday there should be some trades. So this week, no, but he was saying leading up to the trade deadline at least. And I think the next couple weeks we'll see some more. I don't know if the Commanders will make one, but Adam Peters has been aggressive in making trades. I mean, since he's gotten here, let's look at it. Jahan Dotson traded. Marshawn Lattimore, they traded for him. They traded for Deebo Samuel. They traded for Laramie Tunsil. They traded away Brian Robinson. So that's 5 trades right there that I counted. Maybe I miscounted or I missed a trade that they made, but those are the ones. And I'm talking about like player trades for picks, not picks and picks. So Adam Peters is aggressive. I would expect a move to be made, but maybe it's Coleman, maybe it's someone else. We will see. But thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, do all that good stuff, man. I really, really would appreciate it. And peace.